This is Neil King for Random Acts of Cartooning, and on this episode, I'm going to do a political cartoon digitally. But first, this episode's influence is Pat Oliphant, and he's one of my favorite political cartoonists. I had a great book of his. He lived a long time, worked for a long time. Love all of this line work, all this just brushwork, beautiful varieties of different types of subject matter. Lots of presidents, lots of things. But these are just some of the images, so I hope it gives you some idea of where I feel like I'm coming from as an illustrator also. Pat Oliphant. Okay, to get started in this, and what I should say right away is that, first off, I am speeding up. It's about 2 times the speed I work on this kind of stuff. But I thought I would try this political cartoon as a digital piece. So I usually would do this by hand, and I've done so many political cartoons in my time. For a long time, I really thought I was going to be a political cartoonist, but it's one of the toughest things to be. And with all of the newspapers kind of really, having less and less circulation, it's one of the more difficult things to kind of do. But I kind of like the social and political stuff. So for this one, I thought I would do something that I feel like is pretty big in the news, and it's kind of Monopolies. And so I was thinking about an image, and I think about all of the famous Teddy Roosevelt images of being the trust buster. And it's about monopolies and all that. And so I thought I'd do, just to kind of get myself back in, because I would like to do some more of these. I thought I would use what I think of are the best kind of parts to two of the programs that I work in all the time. And that's Clip Studio Paint and Photoshop. So I'm in here and I'm just in Clip Studio Paint, and I'm just kind of getting my pencils down. So I have one layer, and on that layer I'm just laying in some characters. So again, I'm trying to keep traditional with this, and so I almost feel like that idea of these they would have these robber barons back then. And trusts are, at the time, it used to be oil trusts and railway and all that kind of stuff. And where now some of the biggest monopolies are some of the large companies that are out there, like, Apple and Google and some of the other big ones, Tyson, JBS, Cargill. So what I wanted to do is kind of get that feeling for this one, to get myself back in. And I've been thinking about it a little bit while, and I would usually have maybe a politician up there. At this time of this episode, we're about to be voting soon on the president. But I thought I would just keep it pretty, I don't want to say it's generic, but the idea of a big thought here where it would be America. And I would have this Uncle Sam up there, and he's chasing down these robber barons. And I've kept it very simple. I don't, again, I could have gone a lot of different ways. There are, in my head, I've got a lot of different things, but I think the way that I would traditionally do it is I would have more of a specific person doing this. So whoever's in office at the time. So at the end of this is Biden is out of office, and he definitely has been working a little bit on antitrusts and the power of all that stuff. But I think antitrust affects a lot of people, whether you're Republican or Democrat. So as you can see, what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of laying in these characters. I'm just trying to get emotion feeling where they're kind of, I'm getting the idea of them running, and I'm trying to keep them kind of almost, I look at it like a classical kind of an idea, like these top hats, and they're holding on to their top hats as if they're this old money kind of feeling. But within this context, because it's a newer generation of these things, I definitely feel like I'm going back and forth with this. So at this point, I'm going into my next layer, In my next layer, I'm just using a brush, and I have the stabilization on really hard because I do want this to kind of look close to what it looks like when I draw with a brush on paper when I do my political cartoons. So they're very contrasty and with lots and lots of lines. So I draw Uncle Sam a whole bunch of different ways. So to me, he's like, it's like Santa Claus. He's like, I don't want to draw him just one particular way. So with this one, I'm just kind of having him there, and he's just kind of, kind of has this, kind of raggedy looking feel. I get that hat in, but I want to keep it loose, just like I would do with a brush. And when you're in Clip Studio, it has a really nice couple of brushes in there that I've used that I do kind of like. I think it looks similar to what I would do if I had a brush in my hand, a traditional kind of a brush and ink. So as you can see, and again, this is sped up twice. I just really have to get all kinds of textures in there first. So I'm just mark making, and I'm trying to get things in and decide where I am, right? So I'm looking at him and I'm like, okay, I took the layer off for a moment of the pencil, and I'm just trying to say, do I like this? Is it going to read as Uncle Sam? And you just keep going on. So what I like about this specific one is I think I got some nice motion on his arms and with the hands and everything, and with this big club. Now it's again supposed to remind you of Teddy Roosevelt and that whole, like I was saying, Trust Buster, and he would, the whole big stick, speak softly, but carry a big stick. And he was like, he built his whole time on being able to say that he's working for the common man, and that he's looking out for them from these big interests, the corporations who control a lot of things that are going on. And I feel like there's a big thing going on now with the same idea, and I'm wondering whether either party will continue this idea of going after corporations. And there's a lot of evidence that's showing that inflation that we have now can be tracked back to some of these corporations' profits and all the things, and they're owning everything at this point. And so I'm relating it right back to that the idea of Teddy Roosevelt wielding this thing. And he's got, and like a lot of the cartoons that were done at the time, he would have had that large stick, and everybody would understand what that's about. He's trying to break up the trusts. And what that did back then was it allowed for smaller companies to come in, and then that would just be better for the economy. And many people for a long time felt like that was something that worked. And over the last few years, it's the trusts that really haven't been breaking up the monopolies. And now we're having a hard time again, it seems like to me, whether it's just buying chicken or just buying some kind of a thing. Like when you have fewer companies that are offering some of these goods, it's easier for those bigger companies just to inflate prices, and there's not much, there's nowhere you can kind of go. I always consider it's like all of our for cable and for all our internet, that we're really just dealing with maybe two conglomerates, and then we believe that we are in control, that we can change a company and get a better price, but really there's only two. So we're just kind of in the middle of it. So to me, that's a big monopoly that I think shouldn't be, and I think we would do better if we had, if they just weren't as powerful or as big. And for a long time, this really was one of the ways that happened, especially in the 50s. And you think about all the time that they kept some of these larger companies from controlling everything. So anyway, so I have these characters that I'm building, and I'm just trying to get a nice feel of them running. I know I'm going to reverse their suits. They're all going to be very black. And just that you kind of get this sense of them running from this giant that's coming towards them. And because this is the first one I've done for a while, I just wanted to keep it pretty, like I was saying, pretty simple, and that I think most people could understand it. And, for me, just to see what I can do with this medium compared to what I'm really used to is just having my brush and just getting right in there with the piece and making sure that everything's readable. And I prefer black and white political cartoons, even though I see some really nice full color ones nowadays. And why shouldn't they be? It used to be the reason they would have them black and white is it's cheap, and you could really get a lot of feeling from what the artists were trying to do. So even with this, I just made it into Trust Busters or Trust Buster. Try and keep it nice and big. And I was going to put Monopoly in the background, but I don't know if I need to. I just want to kind of get this whole feeling. And again, in Clip Studio Paint, I can just work really fast. And I want it to seem free and loose, the way that this is the way I kind of work and the way I feel most comfortable. So, once I have that thing and I jump into Photoshop eventually, I'll be able to, just go in there and get all kinds of like dot patterns I thought I would do. But at this point, I'm just trying to get this in there, and then once I see my first line area, then I have to start thinking about contrasts and how to make these guys seem like they're up front. So I'm going to go really dark on their suits, and they're just going to come in, as you can see, just adding that dark so that they still have, very, you can see them and their facial expressions have lots of variety. I like kind of where it's going. To me, very classic looking. I think the thing about political cartooning is that you really do need to find, the way you use your shorthand of just drawing objects like this or figures and what works best. So for me, I just think using this medium is the best one. Like I've tried to use the Photoshop for the pens. I just never am very happy with it. But this, it just seems like it's really, it works with me. And I put a stabilization on the brush, which really helps me. And it gives a little bit of a stylized brush, but it's what I see in my head that I'm trying to do when I'm in digital stuff, So I'm kind of moving pretty quickly here all through it, and it's just a matter of, seeing what kind of moves up front, and then eventually I'll deal with the Uncle Sam in Photoshop a little bit more. And you can see they all have a feeling of running. Lots of light source, same light source up there to the top left, and they all just seem like they're coming towards us, all running. Right, Uncle Sam's back there, looking pretty good. It's a big giant. So even now, I just want to bump up the outside lines, more and more contrast. Then maybe go in with a smaller line, but it's really almost focused like a burst line. It gives more sense of motion. It's moving through. I'm pretty happy with most of it at this point because I know what I'm going to do with the Photoshop part to it. So it's kind of all there. I like where this is going. And again, I'm just trying to figure out what it is that I need left and that I can't do in Photoshop. Like all the things that I want here, I might erase a little extra parts, might add a little bit here and there so that I know it's good, and then I'll transport it into, or export it, that is, into Photoshop. Remember, everyone, I am a working cartoonist, so make sure that you're using the links to some of the different stuff that I am selling. These are convention sketches, and I will be doing, and I'm always doing conventions. So if you ever see me out there, or if I also do commissions. But here's some of my adult books, graphic novels. I do kids stuff too. But take a look on my Amazon store, and these are all for sale. And like I say, I do a certain amount of commission work. So if you're interested in some of the things that I've been posting, it's all there. Support me. Like and subscribe, of course, as always. Okay, here I am in Photoshop. So I'm going to try something with this specific one. I'm going to do a dot pattern instead of just flat grays. And so what I did was I made a gradient on a layer, and then I went into the filter and I put a dot pattern, a halftone pattern on it. Now at first it's pretty strong, and I have to beware about it. So I'm adding another layer, and I'm just going to go in with grays. And the way that I do it is I'll pick some medium kind of a gray, and then I'm just going to go in and I'm going to just colorize, or at least color, that all into that gray. And at first, because I know at first it looks very warm, that gray. But in reality, really all it's there to do is to set it on top of that dot pattern. And the dot pattern is strong until you go on top of it. And then you're just kind of looking for, this kind of a thing to push it in front. Now I may try over the next few times lots of different things. I mean, I kind of like cross-hatching. I like all that stuff that I may attempt to bring into some of the political cartoons that I do. But for this one, I thought I'd just do the dot pattern and see if I like it. If I can keep it grainy enough that it works with my style. And with this one, because it's so broad, the idea, that I think if I do it in this respect, I think it's a lot easier to see, and it gives it a little bit of a pop that maybe if I had done it in a different way, it wouldn't look like this. It kind of reminds me of when I used to use Zipatone for everything. And I would just have Zipatone sheets that you would put on, and I would use those for my political cartoons whenever I did it also. But I'm just kind of moving through, getting this all gray. And remember, this is just one layer, and I'll put a darker variation of this layer on eventually. This is all, again, at 2 times the speed. I'm fast, but I'm not this fast. And I'm just saying to myself, all right, is it all there? Is most of it there? Because once it gets converted into the dot pattern, sometimes you don't really need to have it very perfect. You just want to be able to have the feel. And that's usually how I go there. So now I'm putting in some contrast. This is like a darker value of the gray. And I'm just laying that in any place. Gives it a little more dimension. So the character will pop a little bit more. And I think, because of his, hat and the beard, that he still reads as Uncle Sam. And so it's, whenever you have Uncle Sam on there, it's just America. And then you have the stripes. So I think that it reads enough for somebody not to see it in full color. I may try to do some of these political cartoons in full color. That's, it's a little more time consuming, but it's something, if I get the right look, that I'll do. Or maybe even a one color with like a black and white, and maybe have a gradient that's in a separate color. So it'd be a two color piece. That might be interesting, that I haven't done yet. And for this, I'm just trying. I've added a new layer, and I put this below. And, they get that sense of this road. This could have been a lot of different things, I was going to maybe have it like Monopoly Way or something like that. But this is the first one I'm doing. And I'm sure I'll do more with this idea of trust busting. Maybe once somebody else is coming into them. I'm just saving the document. So as you see, I'm just kind of in there doing all this, reminding myself where my light source is, up in the top left in most regards. But it's always just about the piece and the feel that I'm more interested in than anything from the real reasons why you do something. So again, I'm back here. And what I really kind of needed was that bottom area to be not have any of the dots, because that gradient on the background is there. So now that's in there, and I'll be able to add a little bit more once I combine these layers. So I'm going to go into my filter again, filter gallery, going to do the halftone. Now it all has that same look. Now to me, what it needs to make it pop the most is that I want to try to get rid of some white, like erase onto it to get a real true white highlight. So in Photoshop, the only way I'm going to be able to do that is to take these two layers and combine them, and then put a white background on the overall thing in the back, and then go in and erase on the top, on the layer of the gradation. So as you can see, once you put this true highlight on it, like these are the whitest areas, then you really have 3 levels of value, and I think it really kind of is nice. I still think it may be better for me to use maybe some other kind of texture to see if I like that too. But I think I might be onto something with this, and I kind of like the overall feel of the guys in the front, stylized faces, but kind of typical for a political cartoon. Now I'm coming to the end where I have to add the names of some of the things, some of these monopolies. And so after I've gotten all this, I feel pretty comfortable with everything kind of popping at this point. Then I'm just going to go right in, and I've got to add a new layer, and I got to put some of these names down. So I just picked out, I guess, 5 different names of what are pretty much monopolies right now. Tyson for Tyson Chicken. And there's all kinds of ones that I'm not as, I don't know as well as a Google. There's, that, and there's this JBS. Again, that has to do with farming and seeds and all the different stuff. Cargill is like another one of those things. Like, these are all big monopolies that a lot of people just aren't aware of, that make the prices for everything more expensive for the farmers as well as for us as a population to buy these goods and do all that stuff. So hopefully is going to give us the idea. So, my last one I'm putting in is Apple. I have to fit it in there. I could have had that character a little bit taller up, but I can put that in. I'll get it in. There's a whole bunch of different ones that I could put in, but I think these are kind of a nice start. And again, as a piece, I hope that this translates, and hope you enjoyed seeing this idea. I'm going in again, just touching up little stuff as much as I can. If it bothers me, I'm just like, okay, that seems fine. And then I'll just go off of that and tighten it up at the very end. So thanks for watching this episode, and we will see you the next time.